9, Revelation 20, and Psalm 145. I'm going to spend our time in Ezekiel 38 and 39. And this has reference to things that will happen in the end times, and that's why it's paired with the book of Revelation. And this battle of Gog and Magog, these nations that will come up against Israel. And the timing of it is interesting. It's not entirely clear. There's various opinions as to when it will be, but what will happen on that day will be God will reign and rule, right? He will verse 18 of chapter 38, on that day, the day that Gog shall come against the land of Israel, declares the Lord God, my wrath will be roused in my anger, and my jealousy and my blazing wrath. I declare on that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. The fish of the sea and the birds of the heavens and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep on the ground and all the people who are on the face of the earth shall quake at my presence. And the mountains shall be thrown down, the cliffs shall fall, and every wall shall tumble to the ground. I will summon a sword against Gog on all my mountains, declares the Lord God. Every man's sword will be against his brother. With pestilence and bloodshed I will enter into judgment with him. And I will rain upon him and his hordes, and the many people are with him, torrential rains and hailstones, fire and sulfur. So I will show my greatness and my holiness, and make myself known in the eyes of many nations. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of deals, right? Where it seems like all is lost. As God's going to draw these nations from the north and the south and Africa and the north, all the way up even into Russia and from the east, and they will come to attack. And as they gather, then they will be destroyed. And there will be decay, fires for 7 years. So chapter 39 tells us. And so many believe there's some kind of overlap there, whether this battle happens shortly before the beginning of the 7-year period or just into it, and then it overlaps the end. And so then there's a few days between the end of Christ's coming at the end of the 7 years and the start of the 1,000 years. So somewhere in there, this 7-year cleanup happens because it's going to be a mess. But in that, there will be restoration in Israel. It's one of those that we can't just read in a vacuum, so you got to read that with Daniel, with Revelation. And so as you've been reading through Ezekiel and you read some of these sections and you're maybe just more confused than ever, ask God for understanding. Look up some commentaries that will maybe help you. EnduringWord.com, go to BlueLetterBible.com. Those are good places. PreceptAustin.org has all kinds of resources as well. What these kind of things show and demonstrate to us are about future things we have to take as we've seen already previous things being prophesied and come to pass, right? And so the things that are still to come, we can say, oh, with certainty it's going to happen. How exactly, we're not totally sure, but it seems like, right? And you can say, here's what it looks like is happening, and it looks like these nations are going to be brought to engage and come up against Israel in some kind of coalition. They're going to be drawn to Israel, and maybe that's because Israel has all these natural resources, and they're going to be drawn to that, and there's going to be some reason that they will move in that direction. And there's going to be no U.S. to stop whoever it is kind of also the key to all of this, or they'll be less inclined. We don't know exactly what the role is there. We don't have a specific end time role for those in the West, if you will. And so all of these things are potentially moments away. And so when you hear about things like this, it's not to be fearful, it's not to be like, it's to live our lives fully for the Lord, knowing that, He could come at any moment, He could tarry and wait, And some of these things could come and happen, and we'd be like, well, I thought he was coming. Well, don't worry about that. We'll just focus on Jesus, and regardless of the situation, and we'll trust that his ways are higher than our ways. That's what Isaiah 55 tells us. And so that involves a lot of trust and faith on our part to watch and see what God will do. Until next time, keep growing little by little.